Hi everybody, it's Tatiana, and I want to just do a short intro to let you know that Black lives still do and always will matter. Black everything matters. And if that is not something you agree with, then this is not the space for you, and you are invited to leave. Hopefully my camera is not crooked. It's been almost a month since I have filmed a video, and today, because I had to do something for church that required face in my opinion, I was like, I'm just going to keep using this face for other things. Check time, because I have other places to be. So today I am bulk filming. But the first book review that I am sharing with you is my review for A More Perfect Union by Tammy Huff. This was the hashtag Read So Lit read along book for the month of February. Tammy Huff is an author who is from the US, currently living in the UK. And this story, there's Buffy who waits until I film a video to readjust her personage. This story is, or dogonage, this story is historical fiction based on the lives of her great-great-grandfather who was Irish and her great-great-grandmother who was a slave. In going into this story, first of all, this is the type of story that I truly enjoy reading. Cane River by Lolita Tatamy is another story that is written along these lines, as well as Red River, but I haven't read Red River yet. As is A Long Way From Home by Connie Briscoe, which is up here on my shelf that you all don't get to see where the Scooby Gang is. It's also a book that's written along these lines. So this is the type of story that I truly enjoy reading. But I will say that this story did not feel like a story of two people. The two main characters' names are Henry, who is the portrayal of her great-great-grandfather who was Irish, and Sarah, who is the portrayal of her enslaved great-great-grandmother. This book felt more like Henry's story. There's so much about Henry that we get in the story, his perspective, even the people whom he comes into contact with, their influence on Henry's storyline is given from Henry's point of view as opposed to given from their point of view. That's, in my opinion, an important statement to make. Why is that an important statement to make? Because when you're getting the story from Sarah's point of view, Sarah is only as important as she needs to be, in my opinion, for Henry to be important. Sarah does not feel like a character who is important on her own. And I don't know if that is because there's a hole in the familial history as it was handed down through tradition and stories about Sarah and Henry, because that is a possibility since Sarah was enslaved. But there are side characters who come in, who Sarah is in relationship with while she is living on the plantation. There are three other slaves that she's really close with, and it's more than that. It's like 5 that she's close with and has communication with and works with while she's living on the plantation. And then you have the master and his wife. All of those people seem more important than Sarah. But there's a character named Maple who is far, far, far more emotionally pulling than Sarah, and the feelings that I had for Sarah were impacted by how Maple relayed Sarah and how Maple interacted with Sarah. Maple's story is much more compelling. Her background story is much more compelling than Sarah's, and not just Maple, because we do get Maple's point of view in the story, but there are other characters whose point of views we don't get, who feel more real than Sarah. I found myself not really being concerned about reading Sarah's chapters as I was about reading Maple's chapter, hearing about the other workers, slaves on the plantation, hearing about what Henry experienced as he came to America and the prejudices and issues that he faced as a white man, but as a white Irish man. Those things were more interesting to me overall than Sarah as a character herself. Having said all of that, did I enjoy this story? Yes. I enjoyed the way that it's written as a debut novel. I think this is a very, very good start. I look forward to seeing what Huff will develop as she develops as a writer. The way that Huff writes is absolutely beautiful. Everything, I like writers who make me see what they're describing, and I could see the landscape that was being described when, as someone who's never been to Ireland, and definitely not to Ireland in the 1800s, I could see the landscape that she was describing. I could see the houses and how the houses were built. There's this whole bit of information about how the houses, first of all, how the system worked financially and didn't work financially for the people, for the Irish. And then how the houses were built and how the houses were deconstructed, and the hardships that Henry faced as someone who's trying to go get work, and the work that you get is not work that you really want to do, but you have to do it because you have to make money to live. And then also the issue of famine and doing all this work to fund what you need to do to support your family and coming up empty. So I really enjoyed that part of the story. I just wish that we got more of Sarah. I enjoyed Maple's story. Maple could be a character in her own book and have a story worth telling from start to finish. There are some things that are said and that happen to the characters in this book that are so poignant and so spot on to ways that I have heard history being retold, and how people understood and saw what was going on in the midst of, before, and before the Civil War. My biggest issue with this was that the character who is the black character, the African American character, the enslaved character, is a tool in this story. We don't get a full description of Sarah until almost the end of the book. And we get that description because Henry is describing her. That's a problem that I had. So, but again, I thoroughly enjoyed this. Not a perfect book, but definitely a great start to a writing career. So I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I look forward to seeing what else Huff puts out. And I am filming this purposely before we have our live discussion. This is not going to go up until after the live discussion, but I wanted to get this and get my thoughts out here first. That's all that I have about this book today. Would I suggest you read it? Absolutely. If you like historical fiction books, and you like historical fiction books that chronicle or are supposed to be a fictionalized chronicalization, that's probably not a word, of the descendant or the ancestors of the author, I would absolutely recommend this book. That's all that I have for today, or for this book. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a good weekend, whenever you see this video. Peace out.